Let's talk about your NBA draft guide because it is out. You can go find it at theringer.com right now. KOC, you've been doing this for quite some time. What are we, 8 years
now? This is the 11th season overall.
I underestimated you.
8th season with the Ringer,
okay,
11th year overall, which is wild.
Yeah, 11 years. Shout out to you. And I got the big board in front of me. Now, we've had the luxury of 2 years ago, we had Paolo Banchero versus Chet Holmgren. Last year, we had the Wembanyama versus Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller also in the mix there. So we've had some good drafts. This draft is much maligned. Bill Simmons, our boss, has said that it reminds him of the 2013 NBA draft. Just looking at the top talent here, how do you feel about this draft? Do you think it's as bad as people are trying to say it is, or do you think it's more in the middle and still has some talent to be found?
I mean, look, every year there's all-stars. 2013 provided Giannis. Okay,
that's a great way to put it. Yeah. 15th pick.
Every year somebody pops up. So there will be a guy this year that does. On paper, looking at the draft, I look at it as if this is a draft to enhance your existing core. So if you're a team where you already have the guy, if you're the Spurs with Wemby, or you're the Raptors with Scotty Barnes, or you're the Thunder with SGA and Chet, you can find a guy who can fit your existing core. It's a good role player draft. It's not a good star draft.
Good third guy draft.
Yeah, it's
third, fourth
exactly.
guy. Michael Porter Jr.
Yes, it's good for that, in my opinion. I think it's actually quite deep in that department. It's just, drafts aren't defined by that. Draft quality is defined by the number of all-stars and all-NBA talents and MVP candidates. This year on paper, I like it doesn't look like there's any clear candidate who's going to become that. Whether you're looking internationally, there's a lot of international prospects up top, or the G League. Some of those guys are slipping right now. College basketball prospects seem to be on the rise, but that's in part due to the fact that nobody is really standing out as that clear number one. There's like 6-7 guys you could argue could be number one. Like everybody has somebody different at number one right now.
Right. So number one, you have Alex Sarr, who's playing for the Perth Wildcats. He's French, 6'11", 7'4" wingspan. So that's your guy. You have number one
for now.
For now, right? It probably will change. Yeah. Who's your favorite guy in this draft? Who's someone that has got you, like, that's making your brain tinker a little bit with, like, what he could be at the next level?
My favorite prospect, he's complicated from an NBA draft perspective because he's 6'1". He's not an above-the-rim athlete, but he's Reed Shepherd. And he's putting up these monstrous defensive numbers, deflections, steals. He's just contesting shots at the rim as this smaller guard. He has elite instincts. He's flying around everywhere. He looks like somebody who can be one of those on-ball pests despite his size, and he's a knockdown shooter, over 40%. He's an elite free throw shooter. He's got good touch near the rim on some of those crafty layups. He's got a passing feel. He's exactly what we're talking about with somebody that you've put him next to Scotty Barnes in Toronto. He's playing the two-man game stuff. Next to Wemby with San Antonio. Wemby's going to be a key figure for that team. Dribble handoff actions. Pair him with a shooter like Shepherd. It could work. Point of attack defense. And what do you do with a guy like that who's smaller and doesn't fit the typical profile of a lottery player? But I have him in my top 10. Pretty clearly, pretty easily. And I've seen people have him in their top 3.
Wow.
So he's my favorite in that sense because it's like he's a weird prospect, but he fits what a lot of teams would desire from a high-end role player next to a star.
Kentucky going into the year, they had 2 guys that were supposed to be lottery guys, right? Justin Edwards was one of those guys. DJ Wagner was one of those guys. They were the lottery picks for Kentucky. And funny enough, I mean, they're starting for Kentucky, but the 2 guys coming off the bench, you have Reed Shepherd at number 6 on your big board, and you have Rob Dillingham at number 7 on your big board.
Dillingham is fun.
Which is fascinating, right? That, like, you had 2 guys that were supposed to be with it, and it happens to be the other guys, the other 2 guys who were the lottery guys. And I think Reed Shepherd is fascinating because he looks like he could be my cousin. Like you said, he doesn't have shocking measurables.
You're taller than Reed Shepherd.
I think I am, but I mean, the guy has stick-em for hands, right? He has great hands. He has a good shot. He has high IQ. You call him a spark plug. I think that's a great way to describe him because when he comes in the game, feels like he can shift things. He's also a great closer, makes big free throws. So he checks a lot of boxes, but there is the eye test of this where you see this guy go number 4 in the draft, and then you see him compared to a Cody Williams for Colorado, and you say, what's happening here, KOC? How is this happening? So, like, where does he fit at the next level? Is he a point guard? Is he a shooting guard? Like, what position does he play?
I think in large part it depends on the development of his handle. We know he has the passing feel, and he has
shades of Derek White. I like the shades.
I think that's a pretty good comp in terms of what he
people
could be.
love Derek White. People love Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, so he could be that type of player, but if the handle continues developing in the years to come, I mean, like maybe he could be an all-star.
Mm.
Maybe 5-6 years from now, after all the training and time he's going to put into the handle, it's not like he has a slow first step. He's actually pretty quick. It's just the handle isn't advanced right now. It's more of a basic handle. So I think with Reed Sheppard, I wouldn't rule out him being that surprise all-star. And I think that's why you talk to people around the league or look at, draft rankings online. Like different people have him in their top 5 because they're like, hey, this year he's got a foundation to be a long-term guy in the NBA. What if that other stuff does manifest, to the max level that it potentially could? And it's hard to predict that stuff. And a lot of that's about fit, opportunity, and all that. But I'm a believer in Reed Sheppard. I am.
I thought Reed Sheppard would play at least 3 years at Kentucky, son of Jeff Sheppard. And when you saw him, in that group of Kentucky guys, he was the one name you wouldn't talk about typically. So it is kind of insane to see him now as a number 1 guy in that group. But shout out to Reed Sheppard. Another guy I want to talk about quickly on your board, he's number 15, Dalton Connect, who is a senior at Tennessee. This is a guy who went JUCO route, can score the basketball, unlike many people we've ever seen, 3-level scorer, whatever you want to call him. What are your thoughts on Connect, and where do you see him? Could he move up potentially based on a big March Madness run?
I mean, I think he definitely could move up if this sustains with him.
He's been incredible lately.
For sure, absolutely. I think the reason why I have him slightly lower than, say, Kevin McCullough from Kansas, because with McCullough, we've seen him at Kansas for years. We've seen him trend up every year. This feels like it follows a trajectory. With Connect, it's like, okay, let's see if he can sustain this at Tennessee, being there as a transfer. Is this something where he continues getting better? And it feels like now in the middle of January, he is. I mean, the run he's recently been on with these 30-plus point bangers, hitting clutch shots, tough shots off the dribble, contested shots, and playing still within the flow of the offense, making smart passes end of games. He looks like one of those guys who could be a bucket getter who gets hot for you. And I mean, with his size at 6'6", with some pretty good athleticism, he needs to get better on defense, of course.
But he's playing for the best coach to learn how to play defense. 100%. And he is buying in more and more, and he's connected more and more, and that's why Tennessee is playing better. So
for sure,
I think these are good signs for Dalton Connect.
Could become a top 10 guy.
I like it. I think he could be a Corey Kispert type, go 8, 9, 10 range, whatever it was. Last person I want to talk about on the big board, Zach Edey. Most people think he's going to be the National Player of the Year. He's a senior at Purdue. He's 7'3", 7'11" wingspan. We've known him for quite some time. We were playing with the Canadian national team. Do you like him as a first-round pick? Because before he was off the board. Now we got him all the way at number 19. Is that because of the quality of the draft or because Zach Edey's gotten better this year?
Last year I had him like mid-second round, but he wasn't in the guide because I was like, okay, he's going to be going back to college, which he did. This year, it seems like he's been making some subtle improvements with his quickness. He's never going to be like some switch defender, but it feels like he's a little bit more comfortable out there when he has to defend high and pick and rolls and has to, kind of trail a ball handler outside. And I think you can at least feel like, okay, this guy has enough offensive skill and he could be such an effective rebounder, an interior scorer. And it's not like he doesn't have some feel for decision-making as a big, that he's worth the risk in the middle of the first round. Yeah. Bigs are back, Tate.
Bigs are back.
I don't know if you're aware. I'll
take the 7'3" guy.
Yeah, we just spent a lot of the show talking about some of the young bigs in the league. We talked about Cat. We talked about Chet and Wemby. Never mind Embiid and Jokic and all these bigs. Bigs are back in the NBA. So for a guy like Zach Edey, maybe he's actually entering the league at a perfect time, because you might need a weapon, even if he isn't some perimeter
He's
stopper.
6 fouls. He's a big body.
He could play 20 minutes per game and
Mason
maybe more.
Plumlee plays. That's what I would say.
Maybe he can be much more than that.
Yeah.
Do you think Edey has made enough improvements to become like a 30-minute per game player someday in the NBA? Is that path viable for Zach Edey?
I think with fit, if he goes to the right spot and he can learn how to move his feet and when he gets pulled out to the 3-point line. That's been the problem. He's been so much better this year. He's also been better at not fouling people, and I think that's a big part of his game as well. So
think about Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez early years with the Nets. He was an interior guy, a post player. He stunk on defense. He was no good at all. And then he's become an all-defensive team player because of scheme and fit with the Bucks and his own individual improvements. He's gotten better at moving in tight spaces. can Edey continue improving, and can he be paired next to some of those longer wings? Like throw him on Memphis with Jaren Jackson Jr. Throw him on the Bucks as the next guy to replace Brook Lopez.
Yeah, play behind Steven Adams. Learn how to be a big. Learn how to set screens. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
I don't know. I just think he's worth it in the middle of the first round this year, where it's like a lot of role players. Well, why not draft a 7'3" role player, and maybe he plans out to be more than that.
Ryan Kalkbrenner of Creighton, another guy that has shades of Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
So there's some bigs in college basketball to look out for. KOC, where can we find all your work here at The Ringer? And then we'll let you go enjoy your Friday.
On the Mismatch podcast feed twice a week, and also the NBA Draft Guide, NBADraft.theringer.com.
Go do it. Go look at it. Go read through it. Go comb through it. I saw my Charlotte Hornets are going to take Reed Shepherd, so I'm going to have to go
pair him with Brandon Miller, baby.
Yeah, my guy Brandon Miller. Your guy Brandon Miller as well.
24, 6, and 4 over his last 4 games.
Yeah.
Dude's a dominant force right now. I love it.
Should have been number 2. Everybody was saying that.